Okay, okay. For anyone who's sick of me talking so much and who doesn't want to look at the rest of this video, I'm just gonna say, if you want to stop smoking, then you just have to stop smoking. So how I stop smoking is by simply looking at smoking and then asking myself if that is what I want. So you look at smoking in its entirety instead of just focusing on the, oh yeah, I'm smoking. You're like, wait a second, it's actually super disgusting. I mean, why am I smoking? It's such a waste of time. I could be doing other things. I could be holding planks. I could be going hiking. Right? So smoking is just one more thing that keeps you trapped. It's a dead end. It's like one of the eight. One of these things that you loop through eternally until you break out of it and find a loop that makes sense for you. But it's more like supposed to be a spiral upwards, but smoking is a spiral downwards into cancer and sickness and no flow. I stopped smoking because I wanted to have flow back in my life and for energy to flow and me to feel good and healthy and whole. I simply needed to stop pretending like smoking is something that is actually worthwhile doing. For anyone who wants to deal with the topic and still likes watching movies, go for Thank You for Smoking, which is basically, it's a movie, but it's talking about the history of smoking. And I make no distinction between tobacco or cannabis. Nobody needs to smoke, right? Nobody needs to smoke. It's a big fat joke. Take life serious and then live. That's it.
Yo, cheers, folks. Okay, this is a little bit, let's give in to the awkwardness of running around filming yourself with a camera. But I'm serious. I was just in this apartment and there's just nothing. I mean, I just did all of this stuff. Was outside, I did stuff, and then you're in this apartment and you realize this 18 gigabyte video, same as yesterday, actually didn't render properly. And so what are you supposed to do? Well, you feel like I still have things to do, right? And there's nobody occupying my time. So I'm just creating all the time, basically. Wait, how is this? I don't know, man. I don't know how this looks now. Full range, not full range. How awkward do I want to make it for myself and other people? It's like, hey, yeah, that guy's on YouTube. Yeah, I know, man. What's the point on telling me? I've simply accepted this now. And so this is about, because I have to make these major steps in my life. And this is how I stopped smoking. I just started running around doing shit. And I just got better at running around doing shit. And so what you can say is I basically changed my habits. I just changed my habits, man. So I used to have the habit of smoking and I liked it. And I spent time with people that also liked smoking until I said, wait, why did I actually smoke? You know, and people say, yeah, I'm a good teacher, right? You know, I taught you how to roll joints. Yeah, I already knew how to do that. And now I can do it better. But that only makes me prone to smoke more. But smoking is a really terrible habit. And so one thing I did in order to figure out how to stop smoking is I smoked and I observed myself and I looked at everyone I saw who was smoking, and then I realized every time I smoke, I felt like I actually just wanted to breathe. I mean, think about it. You smoke, what actually happens? You say, yeah, it's the cannabis. I mean, something clearly happens. But maybe you just believe something happens, and then that's what's happening. I mean, I've met people who smoked who just said, I feel nothing, because it's possible that they simply were already high. And so, right, you may just, people tell you how you're supposed to feel like, and then they say, hey, here, smoke. And then you smoke, and then you think, So one thing I did is also, I simply observed myself. I mean, please be aware that I feel awkward running around with this camera. I always judge people who are running around with their phone. So, okay, but this is working. And to me, I just gotta stay focused, and I just gotta keep on working this out for myself. So, right now, I don't feel like being at home. So I'm running away. From what am I running away? Well, it's really hard to say, right? It's really hard to say. All I know is that I'd rather go to the shops and get a bottle of wine now, because I just realized, I don't know. I mean, I just did all of that. And now comes the strange part. Because I used to drink beer. I used to smoke first. And I actually let go of alcohol. Then, I smoked. And then I smoked with tobacco. And then suddenly I started drinking beer again. And then I realized, because beer has all this yeast, and I felt like, I don't know, it's not really working for me. And then suddenly I thought, yeah, why not drink wine? And then you drink wine once, and then you drink wine twice, and then you drink wine 3 times. I mean, I just need something that helps me to let go. I mean, I just talked to this guy today in the park, and he was 70 something. I mean, he said I have a 7. Age is relative, I know that. I mean, time is relative, because everything is relative. Because if you're thinking in concepts, then it's left and right, and then, well, it's relative, right? Because as soon as you opinionize, right, the other thing is also true. But I realized that in order to actually see what's actually going on, I have to look at the factors. I want to be alive, I want to move, I want to do things like this, and I want to do what I just did in the video called Same as Yesterday, without being like I was talking while pulling 30 kilos, right, maybe 40. It's like cast iron metal stuff. I mean, I didn't weigh it, I just know it's heavy. It's really heavy. But I just got so strong. And one reason I got my strength back was because I stopped smoking. And you could say, well, I suppose this is just something that I simply had to figure out for myself. Because, okay, this is about how I stopped smoking, but the how is the why, right? The how is the why. The how is the why I stopped smoking It's because I realized, because I thought about it a lot, I focused, I observed myself while smoking, and then I found myself in the presence of other people who were also smoking, but then with tobacco, and they really yeah, I can roll nice joints. Yeah, and I can talk for hours, with or without smoking. But there were times where I really thought, I had to smoke in order to do art. But I have this weird habit. I challenge myself with everything. I have this really crazy habit, and this is how I make such insane progress. I don't actually say it's a challenge, I just know this is gonna be my next challenge. So first, right, I can do art when I'm smoking. And then you test around a bit. I've tested this also on the slackline. And I realized, well, if I'm sober, then slacklining is kind of easy. If I smoke or drink alcohol, then slacklining is kind of hard. But then the question is, do you want it to be easy always? Or do you actually want it to be hard? Well, if it's already hard, and this is where I'm now, it's already hard as it is, I'm already struggling. And then you say, well, does it need to be extra hard? Well, what could be harder than to stand on your own and to create content and try to, stay on top of things and not drown in the work? So I realized, okay, on the long run, smoking is a really bad habit. Well, now, I drank a bottle of wine 2 days ago. Or 3 days ago. And today I feel like I need to drink one again. It's is this a bit am I claustrophobic? Because as long as I'm outside doing things, I have a mission, I've got something to do, I feel fine. But if I'm inside, it's this is so much pressure. I don't know. And then it's this and that. There's just nothing. There's just me. And then you say, yeah, I'll go get another bottle of wine. Make it 2. But the thing is, it'll be the same when I sober up again. So every time I smoked, it just felt like an escape. Plus, I actually wasn't sure what it was doing anymore. And that's the really interesting thing. I actually wasn't sure that the smoking actually did anything. Because what I started to realize was that we were sitting there in the park, yeah, smoking, joint passing around, everybody's saliva, everybody's it's bleh. That's one reason to stop smoking, disgust. You simply look at the perspective you have on smoking, and then you change it. And then you simply change the perspective you have on smoking, plus you rather would like to do this, right? Ba-ba, ba-ba. So in the time you would normally smoke, you think about movement. Oh wait, in the time I sit here and roll a joint, I could actually hold a plank. In the time I'm smoking, I could already be hiking. I could be packing my stuff. And I'm in this weird position where I just cling to the house and being creative all the time. And then I have these habits and then you go there and you think you're gonna meet these people, but then you realize, well, last time I met them, they did the same shit they did before, sitting around smoking, and then occasionally getting up, and we're playing a bit of frisbee. Yeah, I can pass that. I already had it. And then I think of these reasons why we could get back together. And then you say, and play frisbee like this, and then you say, well, why would I do that? Because 90% of the time, they were just sitting there smoking and talking and drinking booze. I mean, if I'm at home and I drink a bottle of wine, I just relax into art. I just let go into art. Or I just let go into the moment. Already now I'm feeling that it's actually a good choice to do this, although I often fail to see why. Often it's just afterwards. Because sometimes I just cling to something, I don't know what I'm clinging to. Like, if you've got a strong mind and a strong will, then sometimes you have to find things that work for you, that help you to let go. And now I'm like, okay, why do you need to let go? Well, how long am I supposed to keep going like this? I mean, how much am I supposed to do? Because I feel like I'm just alone all the time. So it just makes no sense. And so if you think like this, then you say, yeah, so why should I stop smoking? Yeah, because just look at the people, man. Just look at the people. Plus I realized it just was getting worse. So I'm just still, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. But the wine, if it's just another escape plan, just like smoking. So how I stopped smoking was I kept on smoking, but I also continued to ask myself while smoking why I'm actually smoking. You know what I mean? I actually kept asking myself why I'm smoking. While I was smoking, and then I observed myself and I looked at smoking in itself and I realized it's just a habit, man. It's just one habit. It's just something that you picked up. And so you just have to sit. If you are like me and you really have to understand why you should stop smoking, you need the experience. So let's say you're smoking now, but you feel like, yeah, I don't know, it's like really stupid because I could just do yoga, like really like toughen up instead of sitting around like smoking. Plus smoking costs money. So, I mean, I've been living on edge for a really long time now, right? I mean, this is just how I am. I mean, I just ate 2 jars of self-made apple mousse. Just ate that. And I'm like this. Other people, I don't know what they have to do. I am just like that. But I also want to be like this. Because it's actually nice. I like the mania. I like the, that's too much, man. Yeah, that's how I've been as a child. Actually one thing why people tell others that they should smoke is because some people are like that. They're like, bam, full on, let's dance. And then they're like, yeah, maybe you should smoke a little and chill. Because we always say smoking gets you high, but it doesn't. This is how you are when you're high. Conscious. It's almost too much. Smoking is keeping you mellow. It's keeping you chilled, yeah? It's keeping you from getting too angry. Yeah, I am a little bit angry because that's root chakra stuff, that's what keeps a warrior alive. That's what's part of the struggle, to push through layer after layer after layer after layer after layer after layer of reality, of boundaries. You need nothing for that. You just have to find something that you like and then keep, having a go at it. Right? And that's probably how it could be then with this super awesome woman that merges into your space. If you get better at whatever you're doing, I don't know. Right? It's an experience that is still avoiding me, but I find that is okay as well. So, how I stopped smoking, in order to answer that, you just have to stop smoking. And that's then your challenge, because I already did it. And every time I see someone, I can now say, hey, just stop, man, because it's really stupid. Because, just try it. You just slowly but surely replace the habit of smoking, because it's just a method you cling to because you feel secure, right? You feel like it gives you security, because if you sit around smoking, it creates a certain image of yourself, It creates a certain image of yourself, and that is what you think, you know, okay, that's it, that's how you could look like. And then you're this kind of guy, and then you have to behave in such a way. So if you smoke, then you have to be like, you know, like a smoker guy. And because you started identifying with it, you just kept going. And then you also have friends that smoke, and so you have something in common. And then you've got, you know, you can talk about the quality of weed, you know, or the tobacco, and then one has this tobacco and the other one has this tobacco. So it's a gimmick. You know, it's a gimmick. Smoking is a gimmick. It's just unnecessary waste of time. Plus, it's just something, I mean, we're just overproducing, so there's too much of everything. So you could eat yourself to death, now you're smoking yourself to death. Because if you would remember how it is to feel alive, you would be afraid of yourself. Believe me, I've gone through this. If you realize how much energy there could be channeling through you, you'd actually be afraid of yourself. And that's as honest as I can be. And then you have to take responsibility, because you say, wait a second, I could have this much energy? I could be this guy all the time? Holy smokes, I mean, I gotta invest. I have to do research on this. You know how many people feel like this all the time? You know, is this like how you can normally be all the time? Then you realize, yes. Actually, yes. You just have to do what you feel like and then keep doing it. And then also reduce things. But follow your heart. I mean, now I'm going here. Apparently I'm gonna drink wine. But tomorrow, you know, I'm gonna do something else again. And I'm gonna turn this off now because I'm going into the shop. I think I'm gonna pick on it on the way back.
Yeah. So, one of the ways I like to see this getting away from certain things that you started to pick up on that actually ruin your life because they were marketed as cool and hip, and then they're actually toxic and unnecessary. So I like the word of dehypnotization, because what I often find is that large corporations, they kind of use hypnosis to trap you into buying their products. And I find it important to simply learn to dehypnotize yourself. And I find it incredibly liberating to create these kind of patterns and videos. And if you're interested in working with learning how to focus, you can check out meditation. So meditation, which is, I think, on spiritual practices on my YouTube channel. And then just, you know, use it whenever you feel like you're trying to stop smoking, but you're just getting so angry. You know, this could calm you down a little. So look for wave-like patterns. You know, it's like the sinus waves. Also, everything in your life comes and goes in waves. So also the habit of smoking will leave in waves. There will be times where it will be okay, and then there will be times where you will crave it again. Just work with the cravings and just see it as the ripples. You know, it's like you created a wave of smoking, and now, you know, the wave has to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And you just replace it with other habits. And that's my approach.
So yeah. So how I stopped smoking, okay, I just bought stuff. So first of all, I came to the conclusion, in my mind, I made an active choice that I wanted to stop smoking. And so the important part is to simply then do it. To say, I realized, everybody already told you, but you kind of weren't that sure, that you wanted to actually live and stop smoking. And so, if you want to stop smoking, then you simply have to ask yourself why you're actually smoking. And that sounds so trivial, but to many people it clearly is not. So what I found was, see, now I'm just repeating myself, man. Okay, what did I do? I've already told you, smoking is really bad. But you also just have to replace it. You first have to reduce it. Then you have to just stop buying stuff. And you have to stop going to people who do it. You know what I mean? Why I spend so much time on my own is clearly because there are people, if they see you're struggling, they just want you to keep smoking, because then you're just gonna be stuck together. And then they feel less lonely. But the thing is, people that smoke are generally really imbalanced. People that smoke are generally really out of balance. Which then means for you, you're gonna have a life full of people that are really out of balance. And that's just a terrible, outlook on the future. If you imagine everyone just smoking, it's just such a waste of time. You could do so many things in the time you're smoking. Plus, what I also realized that it's really, just focus on yourself and then do what you like. And then you can stop spending time with people that think it's a worthwhile experience to gossip. With me, it's actually useful if people gossip, because I attract a lot of attention just because I am who I am and because I simply walk around. And what I realize is that people that gossip, they have nothing else to do, but they just carry messages. And then ding, 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 ding. Everybody wants to be really well informed. And I simply have no interest in people that gossip. It's the reason why I stopped going to the Boulder Hall. It's the reason I spend less and less time with my family. It's the reason I do a lot of things different, simply because of how vicious I feel like everyone is. And I realize I actually like my life. I actually like my life. I like sometimes going to the park, slacklining and showing it to others, because in a way, it was part of my way out. Slacklining was part of my way out. And why do I say that? Well, because it was, wasn't it? It was what helped me to distract myself from, doing what I would have normally done. Normally I would have just sat around. I've been alone for years with never having really friends. I've been alone for years. For years I've been alone. And I get so sick of it.
And I ask myself, I mean, what am I gonna do? I mean, what is my life going to be like? And I ask myself, well, do I want to be alone all the time? I mean, then the question is, well, do I want to be with people all the time? I mean, do I have friends? Or do I not have friends? You see, I cannot say any longer. Because I've been struggling with this light-darkness stuff for such a long time. You kind of lose track of, okay, these people are nice, and then not. And then you pick up these things that happen underneath the surface, and you say to yourself, okay, what is reality? I feel like people are really gossiping in their minds. And you look at them, and you see through their disguise, and you realize they've been using me. They've been using me to make themselves feel better, because they have no direction in their life. And so I have a direction, and I try to imagine myself sitting at home. And then I was looking at the ashtray, and I wasn't even smoking that much, but I was looking at the ashtray, and I was smelling, this. And then I realized, well, how should a woman fit in here? The woman that I would want to have in my life, deserves a clean husband, so we can have children and be happy. That's the idea. But one reason I turned to smoking was because I lost faith in this idea, this image. It became less and less real. But it also fainted away. The more I smoked, the less I had the image, and the less I actually felt alive. And so I simply had to work. I first had to grasp it with my mind. If you want to have an insight, that blows your mind, you have to really look for answers. You have to solve riddles. You have to listen to the messages. Because while you're still clinging to smoking, you're convinced, it must be good. It's like the same with sugar. No, it cannot be bad. It's like, I like the smell, I like when I flash the lighter. Yeah, and then I light the doobie. Yeah, and then I blast off. And it's like, yeah. Now imagine a child right in the room with you. Just imagine it. Daddy, what are we gonna have for breakfast tomorrow? I've seen people who had children and who smoked because they were trying to escape reality. My life has been about facing it, about tackling reality, in a way about accepting it and changing what I find disturbing. Right? To me, I can say that anything I ingest is already better than smoking, because smoking clogs up so much stuff. If I want to relax a little, then I rather occasionally drink a wine. Okay, why do I drink wine today again? Well, that's hard to answer. That's really hard to answer. But I do realize that I cannot keep going all the time just for YouTube also. So in a way I feel like I'm clinging. There's something in me. Plus I'm also working with the habit of masturbation. So I feel like it's possible that the smoking is a way away from that. What? The smoking? It's possible that the wine may help me to get past this moment where pressure keeps building up and you just want to release. So if I feel now I'm clinging, no, it's just hard to, pin yourself down sometimes. So maybe I just have to make more art, but then the question is, if I make more art, then I also have to take the time and draw the images, and I have to take a picture, and then I have to work on it. And that seems like a dead end to me as well. So I think I really have to just sit with these emotions and figure out what the hell it is I'm feeling. But I cannot resort to anything but what is basically available to everyone. And I have simply let go of smoking. It's just unmaintainable. And it just blocks your energy so bad. It clogs up all your meridians. It's like actually, you're just clogging up your energy, like the channels of energy in your body. There's like fine veins of energy. And if you smoke, you just block them, bit by bit. And that's just so bad. It's really bad. So, now I could do many things, but I feel drawn to just sit it out. So I have probably an intense night in front of me. For whatever reason, I just have enough experiences with myself that I feel like there's something intense going on the other side. And because I know that, I also know the solution to this, which is I have to somehow face it. But I also feel like it's hard to face it alone. I'm not even sure what I'm facing. I just feel like I'm facing something. And what I often see is, people who smoke, they cough. If you just breathe, you can have a good experience breathing, because what smoking actually does, it's just like it's like a prayer bead. It just gives you something to focus on other than yourself. Yeah, but that can be breath. You get it? That can be the wind outside. It can be so many things. It can be your fingers rubbing together. And that's what prayer beads does. It's a movement that you do, that you actively pursue. And, I cannot say what I did today. Sometimes I do stuff, and it seems like there's something, something happened with what I did, because you realize how actions have meaning at a certain stage. If you're getting more conscious, then small acts, appearances here and there, doing things, assisting creation, without actually really doing anything specific. You just have a feeling, you go somewhere, you just appear there, build up a slack line, then you do this, you do that. You refuse to masturbate. And I've been struggling with this for a long, long time, but I finally want to manage. And I saw that if I would have just stayed at home, I would have not managed. Because the pressure was too much. And so now I had to just find a way to simply survive the night. Because I do feel super conscious right now. I feel super conscious. I'm hypersensitive. I'm very alert. I realize something is going on. And I can see myself actually staying like this. But for that I have to learn how to deal with the pressure. And so if you stop smoking, what you actually realize is that you become more and more awake. And it's gonna feel like it's gonna drive you insane. Why is it gonna feel like this? Because, you know, the more your body starts to cleanse, the more conscious you're gonna become, which means that you can focus much better. Your hearing is going to increase. If you actually also work with these things, you learn to focus, you learn to pay attention. It's like a drop of water. You know, it reverberates through you. And this is generally something that most people only have in connection with cannabis. And now comes the interesting part. Cannabis used, you know, if you make your own oil, you know, you do like a water bath, a bain-marie. So you heat up water in a pot, keep it like, you know, not boiling, like simmering. You want the water to simmer. And then into the water, you place a bowl of some sort. And in that bowl, you put, let's say, either ghee or coconut oil, coconut fat. You may even put butter, but then the butter will become ghee. Nah, it won't become ghee. But you can just take ghee, or you take coconut fat. It also works with hash. And then you just make yourself cannabis butter, cannabis oil. You could also just use oil, right? You could just use oil. And then you leave it in there for 8 hours. And you could even put in stuff like cloves or spices, but you could also add that later. And then what that does is, because the butter or the ghee and the cannabis is actually not in direct contact, you know, it's like indirect heat, because, you know, the pot, you know, that's standing directly. I'm just explaining you a water bath, which is ridiculous, right? So the water is being heated, and that heat from the water then goes into the oil. And that means the butter or the cannabis or whatever cannot burn. And that makes it really relaxing. So if you want to have an evening where you say, okay, I've been like struggling a lot, I've been working with my inner child, you know, I've been doing lots of sadhana, I feel like I just need to relax a little because I'm so tense, like I'm super tense. Like, let's say you've been struggling for a whole month, just yourself, you know, maybe even no coffee, I don't know, right? No smoking, nothing, no cannabis butter, nothing for a whole month. And then you say, okay, Friday night, you know, I'm gonna put up maybe some incense that I like. I don't know, I'm not that fond of incense but sometimes it helps me to create a holy space. And then you say, okay, I'm gonna put up a candle or two, I'm gonna make it really cozy, I'm gonna wet wipe the entire apartment, make sure it's really clean. And then you have this butter, and you can make yourself cocoa with it. You can also just eat the butter like this. But of course you have the responsibility now if it comes to dosage. Which is why if you're a bit insecure, you know, how much are you gonna take, right? How much are you gonna take? Because depending, I once took 600 grams of coconut fat, and I put in 5 grams of Moroccan hash that I just bought somewhere in Amsterdam. And I simply did like a water bath, and then I put it in my ceremonial cacao. You know, I put it on my breakfast cereal. You can make like a dal. You could even make milk rice and then add it on top. You know, you're completely free. You can do whatever you want, man. But stop smoking. So how I stopped smoking? Well, I only started when I was 26. Okay, I did smoke shisha and occasionally tobacco, but I just realized that it's just disgusting. You know, it's so much cleaner if you make it in the form of oil, but never overuse this. These should be pronounced moments in your life where you do actual healing ceremonies for yourself. And maybe, I don't know what, you know, that's your choice now. But this is what I truly believe in. You should never overuse anything. So maybe I'm overstepping some boundaries. I also bought some 100% dark chocolate, just the Lindt one, because that was the only 100% one they had, and wine. So one thing you also have to work with is just this stubbornness. You just have to let go of, you know, seeing yourself as somebody who smokes. Because smoking is actually not cool, it's just stupid. And if you look, watch Thank You for Smoking, it's a really nice documentary about the smoking industry and how it actually started. So that of course connects to truth in movies, because I have watched it once, and so I knew that they actually already knew that smoking is hazardous, it's toxic, you know, it just blocks your energy center, and then, you know, you have what appears to be cancer. But cancer is just too much shadow tearing you apart, right? It's just like creation that just went nuts. You know, it's just like you have the force of creation in your body, which is your life source. It's what you're made of. And then you block it by smoking. And because you're blocking it, it cannot go anywhere. And then it just keeps building up, and it keeps building up, and it keeps building up, and then it's like boom! It just goes haywire and just tears you apart. Which is why smoking is really bad, children. But if you tell that to someone, he's like, no, I cannot stop smoking, I have to continue. And then you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, sometimes. So this also clearly connects to losing Terence McKenna's ways, because he had no idea what he was talking about. Plus, he never created anything. You know, I want to participate. I want to create space also for people to come into. But instead of smoking, you'll pick up a broom and you'll sweep. You'll sweep for your happiness. Keep sweeping it. Keep sweeping. If you don't know what to do, sweep. And if you don't know what to do, clean your apartment. Clean out your duster. You know, just keep yourself busy. Leave the house, do something. Find something to do, I don't know. I mean, if you just sweep streets everywhere, they're just gonna say you're insane. So stick to your little area and just clean up the mess. Okay. Bit of healthy paranoia, never hurt anyone. Okay, so smoking. In the end, end, it's your choice. But how I stopped smoking, I just, weighed the consequences of smoking in my mind. And then I said, do I actually want this? Do I want to be like this? I mean, do I want to wake up to the reality of smoking is bad in 40 years, or simply accept now that it's bad and stop? And so I stopped. So you've been given a mind, and a clean mind is really amazing, but if you smoke, you're always going to be prone to having dark thoughts and, just being really annoying and blocked. I just wanted to be open. I literally wanted to be a channel. And so I channeled, and I'm still doing it. And one reason that I'm still doing it is because I stopped smoking that. And that's basically the best choice of my entire life. One of them. I made a lot of choices, but that's one. So, yeah, just take your time and just look at it. And if it takes a year, I was going through the motion of stopping several times before I actually stopped. And then I stopped. And then suddenly, the choice came back every time, like, oh, you could. You're like, no. I stopped going to see these people. I simply stopped. And I realized they were never my friends. They were never my friends. They wanted me to fail. Because if you got no hope, then how do you understand somebody else's choices who has hope? So I knew what I was doing. And I realized, good choice. In the end, it's just you have to have something to live for. And if that's your vision of, okay, you gotta find a wife that inspires you. But yeah, it's a hard world. So just find something that keeps you alive, other than smoking. And that's then what it is. And now I'm going to see what's going to happen. I cannot see everything. But whatever it is, I think